Good evening and welcome to the 2022 New London Spicer School Board Forum. My name is Marie Doran and I'm a member of the Willmar League of Women Voters. The League would like to thank the candidates for your appearance tonight, and we would also like to thank the viewers who are watching this forum on videotape. There are 5 candidates vying for 4 positions on the board, 4 of whom have agreed to be a part of tonight's forum. The League of Women Voters Willmar area has a long-standing history of providing nonpartisan and unbiased candidate and issue information that is widely used by the voters of Minnesota, regardless of their political beliefs. The League of Women Voters does not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Sponsorship of this forum is a public service providing the public with access to the candidates' issues and talking points. The views expressed here tonight are solely the views of the candidates and not the League of Women Voters. We asked all present to silence their electronic devices. Candidates can use paper and pen. You can take notes, but no electronics. Questions have come to us through email, and we have consolidated those on the same topic, formulating them for conciseness and clarity. There is never enough time to cover all the issues. If you, the viewers, feel that your issue was not addressed, I encourage you to contact the candidates directly. Now I would like to introduce our moderator, Karen Kramer, a member of the Willmar Area League of Voters. Karen.
We will start the candidate forum with the opening statements. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening statement and 1 minute for their closing statement. Opening statements will be in alphabetical order, beginning with the candidate Del Brower, then Laura Nelson, Trish Perry, and Mark Peterson. The closing statements will be in random order. The order of answering questions will be rotated. The candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to questions. Please note that our timekeepers are Martha Alsleben and Sarah Rooker. They have 30-second and 15-second signs. I'm going to show them. Oh, and not a 15-second. But they will have a stop sign, and they will call time to be sure the candidate has their full time to finish their statement. Let's begin with opening statements. Mr. Brower.
Hi, I'm Del Brower. I was born and raised in this area of Minnesota. I've been a teacher, a coach, and an administrator throughout my career. And I want to use this experience to help me serve on the board. Why am I running? As a former secondary teacher of the year, I want to establish excellence in the classroom and add to the many good things that are already happening in the district. I want to help the students catch up from pre-pandemic, from the problems that the pandemic caused, and I want them to not only catch up, but go beyond where they were before the pandemic. I want to strive for fiscal responsibility and work with our legislators to get more equity from the state funding for our students. We cannot constantly go to the constituents to raise more money. I'm concerned about the future of our country, and our students are our future. So if I can make a difference by serving on the board, I want to do so. All my career, I wanted to help students improve in some way. Over the last several years, I have taught gun safety to NLS students. Now I want to serve them and serve the district by serving on the board. Thank you.
The next candidate, Laura Nelson.
My name is Laura Nelson and I'm running for New London Spicer School Board. My partner and I moved to the NLS School District 4 years ago to provide more special education opportunities for our oldest, who is diagnosed with dyslexia. We have 3 boys, a sophomore in college, a sophomore in NLS High School, and a second grader at Prairie Woods Elementary. I'm running for NLS School Board because I want to give back to our schools and community. I feel that I am a great asset as a leader, a volunteer, and an impartial listener. 3 of my top issues are student success, technology, and school safety. Student success, obviously, at the end of the day, we want our students to be successful regardless of what path they choose after high school. And whatever we can do in those 7 hours a day to help them prepare for the rest of their lives is important. We want them to experience an array of activities, to be creative and become leaders, and give them the tools to make educated decisions. Technology, ensuring that our teachers and staff have the knowledge to succeed. Technology is obviously ever-changing, and we need to make sure that we keep up to date with the latest and provide comprehensive training to our teachers and staff. School safety, as a parent and community member, we never want to be late in making crucial decisions when it comes to our children's safety. I think it's important that school safety continue to be a top priority every year for our board. The school must work with families to help our students develop into responsible and respectful members of our community.
The next candidate, Trish Perry.
Hello, my name is Trish Perry, and I'm very excited to run for the Board of Education. And when asked why would I want to run for the school board, or why would I be the best candidate for this position, simply put, I love NLS. We have a strong educational system which evokes Wildcat pride. I served as the middle school principal for 14 years. Personally, NLS has given me so much. I cherished relationships with staff, students, parents, and community members. Now it's time to give back. But what better way to give back than to support students, staff, parents, and the community? For the last 24 years, I've served as an educator. I have been a teacher, assistant principal, and now an assistant professor educating future leaders. Education is my passion. I understand education and how important it is to have elected officials who support the educational community. The school board at New London Spicer historically has supported staff and students. If elected to the board, I will continue that same tradition of support.
Our next candidate, Mark Pearson.
First and foremost, thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing and hosting this forum. Thank you to all the other candidates who've chosen to attend and participate here. And most importantly, thank you to you viewing at home. An informed elector is vital, and it takes everybody, candidates, organizers, and viewers to make sure that that happens. I've bragged about NLS just about everywhere I've gone. How many small towns can boast about building a house and having the range of college courses that we have? How many can say that their activity offerings reach so many students as ours do, from theater to FFA to athletics to robotics to speech and so many more? I grew up in New London Spicer, and the well-rounded school system prepared me not just for academics but also for life. I graduated high school with over a semester's worth of college credits already completed. I lettered in 3 sports, plus choir, knowledge bowl, and founded a chess club while I was here. In college, I served as the executive vice president of the Interfraternity Council. My doctoral dissertation was 200 pages of dense content, written while I was winning the city volleyball tournament with a group of very close friends. Now, in addition to my role in the school board, I help teach an after-school STEM course. I run the outdoor rink in Spicer, I coach youth hockey, and I've been actively involved in the local food co-op. This breadth encapsulates how NLS achieves its vision to inspire every student every day. I am hoping that both of my children, now in elementary school at NLS, have the same opportunities for both rigorous academics and broadening experiences that I had. As a school board member, I face a range of difficult decisions from budget cuts to COVID mitigation measures. At every turn, I approached each decision with one focus in mind: what is best for the students, both now and in the long term. Even when my answer to that question may have differed from someone else's, I've always believed that everyone involved in NLS has the best interest of every student in mind, and by bringing those perspectives together, we can reach the best solutions that are available to us. Finally, I'd like to highlight my push for transparency and communication. This includes pushes for the district to communicate directly. It also includes my commitment to communicating directly to the public through my Facebook page, Mark for NLS, including weekly updates on the school board meetings. I encourage everyone to read those to see the topics the school board is facing. Thank you to everyone once again. I look forward to the opportunity to share my perspectives tonight.
Thank you. Let us begin with our first question.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
What do you see as the roles and responsibilities of a school board member?
Certainly. I think the roles and the responsibilities of a school board member are something that's often challenging for the public to see. If you're sitting at home and you have something you're very angry about at the school district, your first impulse might be to call a school board member directly. The reality is that on a day-to-day basis, the school board has very little role. This is one of the things that the Minnesota School Board Association does a wonderful job about training new school board members, is that we have a lane to stay in, and that lane is a very high level. It's setting a broad scale budget. We want to set this amount of money to go towards our elementary school education, and we rely on the people that we've hired to do their best job to make those decisions. We trust the people we put in these positions to do the job we're hiring them for. If we weren't going to trust them, we shouldn't have been hiring them in the first place. Excuse me. The fly in here is getting a little bit obnoxious already. And I think that this is an important thing, that those day-to-day decisions, what curriculum we're going to be putting into a particular classroom, how we're going to manage a particular thing, aren't board decisions. The board is there to support the educators that we have hired, to trust them to do the work that they are best suited to do, and make sure that we're giving them the tools and support that they need to accomplish that job.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
I believe that the role and the responsibility of a school board is to support the school community. And overall, a school board, the primary function is to approve curriculum and to approve policy, and then also to have fiscal responsibility with the taxpayers. And we are very fortunate at New London Spicer, when you look at the curriculum piece, that we have excellent teachers. And when they come to the school board, there's a process in place from advisory council to curriculum committees that really make the role of the board quite easy. And you know, I also believe that when you look at the fiscal responsibility, there is a budget, and unfortunately, there's sometimes really hard decisions that one has to make when it comes to finances. And then again, finally with policy, we take our policy and we lead with policy that's taken from laws from the national level and the state level, and we implement those to make sure that our students and staff have the tools that they need to have a really high quality education and additional learning opportunities for our students.
Question goes to Del Brower.
The role of the school board is, first of all, to support the staff and administrators and students, to listen to their concerns and then act on them, to work with administrators on the budget and the constituents on the budget. That has been a challenge in New London Spicer in recent years with the budget shortfall. And so this is a critical issue that we need to continue to address. The referendum really helped with that. As was mentioned, it is not the role of the school board to get into day-to-day matters. This is the job of the teachers and the administration. We are to support all areas of the staff and teachers and administration. We're to work with teachers on and administration on selecting curriculum. not to interfere with them, but to work with them. And our job is to work with policy. Thank you.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
I believe the roles of the school board members are to, like has been said, work on and approve policies and procedures that provide high-quality education to our students, support the superintendent and district office, and make sure that they're accountable for their goals and financial decisions. And also to be an engaged member of the community and work with the community in voicing concerns, and also to direct community members through proper channels when they do bring up those concerns.
All right, our next question. How would your skill set benefit the school board and the school district?
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. How would your skill set benefit the school board and the school district?
I believe I'm very open-minded. I am capable of seeing issues from several different viewpoints. So I don't come in with my mind already set. I can see different, or take different opinions. I'm very committed to success, so I want to see the students, staff, teachers, and districts succeed. And I want to help other people with their goals as well as mine. And do whatever I can to meet those goals. And I have kids in the NLS school district, so I am very up to date with what is going on in schools, and I think that's a huge asset.
Question goes to Dale Brower.
My 40 years of experience in education should be a real asset for me on the board. I have sat in over 300 board meetings, and some people would say I'm a glutton for punishment. But I feel that I can really contribute to the board from my experience. The district is going through a strategic plan and forming a portrait of a graduate, and I think that my years of working on strategic plans as an administrator will really benefit the board in this way.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
Certainly. I think probably the simplest way to answer this is I am a wonk. So I love diving deep on policy. I love diving deep on contracts. I love reading the contradiction from paragraph 1 to paragraph 317 and having that detailed view of how these things go. When my brothers and I used to play video games growing up, I was always the one that got assigned to read the manual and the explanation about the broad scale stuff because I could make the connections and guide them through the levels. I've done this in policy. I've been on the policy committee for all 4 years. I've been on the committee or on the school board and really had to focus on those long-term implications and the edge cases that are likely to come from very nuanced language. Where you put a comma matters a lot at a level like this when you're setting 10,000-foot policy. In addition, I'm a data scientist. I have a deep data focus. Even before I was on the school board, I was working to help with anonymized test score analysis. And I think I can really guide a lot of the decision making by really diving deep into some of the data, that just piles and piles of data that exists within a school system that we can leverage in really impactful ways. I was also a college professor for 2 years before I moved back home to take a job with Life Science Innovations. I'm still connected very much to that world. I still do a lot of teaching as part of my role at my work. And I'm a youth sports coach. I grew up coaching t-ball and I still coach youth hockey. And there's a lot of balance there. I've been going through the USA Hockey trainings, and the sell, don't yell is a big push now. And I think that's a big switch with the education moving from sage on the stage, where a teacher just stands in front of the room and reads from something and expects you to memorize it, into something much more interactive, where we have group learning and a lot of that engaged things, including flipped classrooms and all of that. I believe I can be a vital resource to make sure the school board provides those resources. And finally, I have kids in the district. My youngest daughter is in the class of 2034. I'm deeply invested in the long-term success of this district, and I'm going to put those tools to work.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
I've been very fortunate, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, that I was part of the system for 14 years. And so I understand New London Spicer, I understand the school district, I understand the committees. I was part of all the committees. I have a relationship with the staff. I have relationships with students, and I know a lot of you in the community as well. And in my current position at St. Cloud State University, I'm teaching in the educational leadership program, and two of the classes I teach, one is education policy, and the second is introduction to personnel administration. And I teach in a doctoral program with student achievement, so I'm really in the brink of research and working with educational leaders, and I believe that that skill set that I'm gaining as an assistant professor, I can bring that back here to New London Spicer, and I did that. I was an adjunct professor when I was a middle school principal, and I really felt that benefited the district. And, you know, I think with a skill set, you have to have passion. And my passion is for this district. My husband and I, we have two NLS graduates. So I know the quality of education that they received, and I want to make sure that that is the same quality education that our students currently and our future students will also receive.
All right, our next question is, how would you respond to parents' concerns about what is being taught in the classroom?
Question goes to Trish Perry.
Well, that is an interesting question because I've had parents call as a middle school principal and share some of their concerns about what's being taught in the classroom. And luckily, I had the experience of going into classrooms and seeing what was being taught. But again, to go back about curriculum, our curriculum here at New London Spicer, it is standards-based. So our curriculum, the foundation is within the Minnesota State Standards. And if there's any questions, again, I think it's important to listen to parent concerns, but then redirect those concerns to the proper channel. And again, that starts with the teacher, and if they don't get the right answer from the teacher, then it goes to the principal. There is a chain of command that I would definitely make sure that the parent follows. And then also encourage the parent to get involved. We have an advisory council. We're always looking for parents to be involved in that committee. And that's a really great way for them to learn about curriculum and what's being taught in the schools.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
I think to what Trish said, that what the core answer here is you'd absolutely direct them to the right channels to make sure that they're getting the detailed information. What your student brings home may not be the complete picture. You may not know what was taught the week before, what's coming the week after, and having that engagement with the classroom teacher, with the principal, with the administrative staff is incredibly important. I think a lot of this answer also comes down to the question of what is that concern that a parent is having. If it is a question about the particular curriculum because they like Pearson books instead of this other brand, or if they like this method of teaching math instead of that method of teaching, making sure that they're connected with the resources to understand the value. So the number of people that have approached me, not necessarily as a school board member, but my own classmates as their students have gone through complaining about new math and how terrible it is and how awful. And like, I've had many like hours long conversation going back, I'm a wonk, I'm deep in this stuff. I taught math at the college level in addition to biology. And it is very, very valuable once you understand what's happening to understand why the math is being taught this way. I've gone out to dinner with too many people that can't figure out a 10% tip on a bill without pulling out the calculator in their pocket and making sure they understand this is what we're doing. We're not trying to make their homework hard. We're not trying to make you look silly when you don't know the box method for doing multiplication. We're doing this for a reason to build this information for students. And for some of those things, I'm deeply involved and I can help guide that conversation and talk to them directly. And for some of them, I need to point them to the people who have those resources, the people we've hired to make those decisions. And again, the people who've decided that that's how we're going to align with the Minnesota State Standards. Getting them to be involved in those conversations so it's not just anger, but an understanding. And maybe that conversation leads to an improvement. So one of the things you might be, here's how we're going to educate our parents about what's going on in this classroom. Here's how we're going to make sure our parents have support to teach this math at home. And that's something that definitely fell through with COVID. Some guys already pushing before that, and hoping to get going back again here and have a new administration in place.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
obviously, listening to the community's or parents' concerns about what's being taught is very important. Getting information, finding out if they've already gone through other channels, to see if they're at the point of frustration where they're not getting the answers they're looking for, nobody's listening. And also probably reaching out to other people who have experienced the same thing or are also in the same situation, if there are more than just one parent, if there's a group, things like that, but then definitely pointing them in the right direction and getting them some sort of resolution, whether it be what they want or not, but getting them some feedback, so their questions just aren't left unanswered.
Question goes to Del Brower.
First of all, we want to listen to what they are saying and really listen so we understand what they're concerned about. And then, as has been mentioned, we need to direct them to the right place. And as an administrator, I always told the parent when they came in, when you go into the teacher to see the teacher, have a teacher heart, understand the teacher and where they're coming from. And I told the parents, or I told the teacher to make sure you understand the parent. These are their children, they're flesh and blood. So right there, if both sides do that, it really eliminates a lot of concern right from the beginning. Direct them to the teachers first, the administration. Have them get involved so they understand really what is taking place in the classroom. Have them understand the curriculum. Their students, their child comes home with curriculum, make sure they're understanding what the curriculum is. And as a board member, as a potential board member, I've gone around to the district and talked to people in the district and have heard concerns and have written down their concerns, and as a board member, we'll try and address those.
Going on to our next question. What are needs and priorities that you feel our district should address?
Question goes to Del Brower.
Well, first of all, the district is going through a strategic plan. And as the district goes through this, they should do a SWOT analysis so they understand where the district is at and know where the strengths and weaknesses are and know how to address them. Things that they are working on right now and will be into the future are the portrait of a graduate. What do we want the graduate to look like? And we need to address those things and make sure that as we go through that strategic plan, that first of all, we start with the mission of the district and we look to what our vision is. And then as we develop that strategic plan, we look and see if we have the financial backing to take us through to our goal, our vision. So these are things that will be addressed as we go through the strategic plan, and there will be new things that will come up, but these are some things that we need to address now.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
Some of the needs and priorities that I feel are part of the school board goals, first of all, continuing to work with our young learners. They've They now have some STEM programs after school, but continue with different opportunities to expand what they have at an earlier age. Like I said in my opening statement, technology. I mean, continue to keep up with the latest technologies as much as we can within our financial means, but allowing our students and our staff to have access to the most current technologies instead of learning them after high school. Obviously budgets is our big priority. It will always be on the list each year as we struggle to balance needs, wants, things like that.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
Sir. So I think the core priority and need of the district is always to train a 21st century student. The schooling that I went through is no longer adequate for the environment now. We had a computer lab, we had computer courses, but the way students are interacting with technology has fundamentally changed. It's going to fundamentally change again between now and when they retire. And I think ensuring that we are training students not just on the latest and greatest of technology, but how to continue that adoption process. I remember trying to teach my dad how to set a VCR back when you had to do that, and it wasn't just punching a button on your DVR. And we're in a generation where that's just going to keep happening. There's going to be new tech after new tech after new tech, and ensuring the students are taught the critical thinking skills to be able to evaluate that information and to continue to move forward as that technology changes. And that involves being at the cutting edge right now. It also involves making sure that we're training students to evaluate information as more and more streams of information that are of dubious accuracy start streaming into them as they make their decisions going forward in life. This involves investments in technology and infrastructure, including safety and a number of other things. But also, we can't lose sight of the fact that we need to support pathways for both the trades and straight-to-career students. Nothing that we are doing should be saying that we're doing this just for college-bound students or students who are going to use technology in their jobs. Every person is going to need to be able to use technology to sign their kid up for a class in the community ed department, or to access their paycheck, or to do anything with a job-related role. And these things need to be important and taught as life skills, not necessarily just job-focused. And I think we need to make sure we keep that all in mind as we continue to move forward with the levy spending to ensure that high-quality education is occurring across the board, class sizes are staying down, and in addition, focusing on student mental health and general well-being, because that's the only way we can get these students to be productive members of society, which is a big part of the goal of the education system right now.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
When you look at needs and priorities, our top priority always should be the students. And in my opinion, I look at the priority as being an excellent programming for students throughout our entire system. And I agree with Mark, it's not just about educating or programming for college-bound students, it's all students. And within that, New London Spicer will experience a number of retirements in the coming future, in the coming years. And I think when we look at priority, it's continuing of hiring quality and excellent staff members to educate our kids. And as many of you know, education right now, there are fewer and fewer people entering into education. And so as a district, as a priority, we're going to have to be very proactive in our hiring approach. And I also believe that another priority of the district should be our infrastructure, internal infrastructure. If you've been into our classrooms, our science labs need to be updated. I am concerned about our industrial arts area, our agriculture shop, our welding, the equipment. We need to look at ways to modernize for our students. And as always, I think financial stability and security is always going to be a priority in this district.
Going on to our next question. Give examples of how you have been able to work productively with those who do not share your background and opinions.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
think when you work with people that don't share your same opinion or your same background, that helps you grow as a leader. And I think right now, it can be very divisive. And I think it's important to understand that disagreement can be very healthy and that we can learn from each other. So how have I done that? In the role of administration, you deal with this quite often. And you listen and you understand each other's perspective and you hope that you can come to consensus. And there are times though that you may not agree with each other, but hopefully you can walk away and you can respect one another. I've done that throughout my career, and I look at what I'm doing at St. Cloud State as an assistant professor. I have students that may not necessarily agree with my opinion. However, we're still able to have the discussion and learn from each other. And again, ultimately, when you're on the school board, you're really working towards a common vision, and that is educating our youth. And somehow we have to come together and do what's best and what's right for students.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
How boring would life be if everyone agreed with me? I love arguing, I love discussing, I love getting deep in the weeds of this, of just about any issue. Growing up, I would play devil's advocate and just take the opposite position of a number of my friends in any sort of discussion we were having, because it's productive. Reasonable people will disagree, and having those discussions leads to more productivity. I'll never forget, on my wedding day, my best friend from high school, Kyle Boyd, was asked to give me advice, and his advice was argue the topic, not the person. And it's something I really took to heart, and it's something I thought about a lot lately, including in my relationships. A lot of times, if there are two people that are proposing solution A and solution B, it's not about finding a winner or a loser or somebody getting their way and somebody not. It's about finding option C that allows both parties to come away with something. And often that option C is a better solution than either A or B were in the first place. And finding that middle ground, finding that commonality, where A and B may not actually conflict. We can do both things as long as we accommodate each other in this way. As far as a tactical, concrete example in the last few years, I mentioned I'm a youth hockey coach. I have a passion for training a whole bunch of goalies. So USA Hockey has a massive shortage of goaltenders in the system. And I've been pushing for multiple years to try to accomplish ways to get more young skaters playing this position. And it's been a long road to hoe. It's a very difficult position to convince parents that they want their kids to be involved in. It's a very difficult position to convince coaches that they want to coach. And step by step, little by little, bringing people along and finding that commonality and showing the successes when we have these little steps and making sure that you have the long-term vision in mind. And that it's okay if there's a setback along the way. I might not get my way this week, but maybe next week we can try it my way. It might not work out this season, but maybe next year we can try it a different way. And just continual improvement and making sure to respect each other in those conversations always leads to a better outcome than yelling and screaming and acting as if it's a win-loss, zero-sum game.
Question goes to Del Brower.
First of all, you want to listen to what their concern is, and the concrete example that I have was when I was an administrator, there were times when I would have to discipline a student, and I tried to put myself in the parents' shoes so that I understood where they were coming from. I tried to show them how, in the long run, the student will actually benefit by the discipline. And I really wanted them to understand from the school standpoint why we had to do this if we were going to educate our kids properly. And so it is important that You are not confrontational. You listen. You allow them to say their piece, and then you look at a solution that will work for the student, for the parent, and for the school. And so that would be a concrete example. I always try to put myself in their shoes. Why are they concerned about what took place at the school? Try to help them understand why the school responded the way that they did, and then remain as friends and wanting to work together in the future.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
Obviously, I've mentioned it a couple times how one of my assets is I'm known for being open-minded and the willingness to listen to both sides of the story. There's been multiple personal examples where I have been contacted to listen to both sides of an argument, to share my opinion, or to try to understand more fully on both sides what the underlying issue is. Some examples of how I've done this in my life. Most recently, during COVID, I volunteered to work for the Census Bureau and met a lot of individuals who voiced many different issues and concerns and opinions to me throughout the process. And being able to help educate them about what that process was about. I learned a lot and was able to use my assets in speaking with them.
All right, thank you. Our next question. Diversity is increasing in our school district. What is your vision for continuing to support and or manage the changing composition and perspectives of our district?
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
Obviously, I'm a huge advocate for diversity. I wish, honestly, that we had more diversity in our school district, because I do think that it's important as students enter the workforce or go to college, that's not their first time seeing such a diverse community. So I'm a huge advocate for it. I don't think you necessarily have to make changes. I think that it's just natural. And as we've brought our kids into more diverse environments, and exposed them to that, I think they're a true case of that, where they've learned how to deal with diversity. And I think it's very important for them, and I think that they learn a lot from it.
Question goes to Del Brower.
Well, obviously, diversity is increasing across the nation. And by having a diverse environment, the student is actually helping being prepared for what they will face later on in life. So to have diversity not only in the student body, but in the teaching staff is important, because it exposes students to situations that they're going to see later on in life. I know in my own life, as I was exposed in college to a diverse community, it really opened my eyes to being understanding of people that may not be exactly like you. And some of my best friends in college were from a different skin color than my own.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
Originally, I'm from Ely, so northeastern Minnesota, and growing up, there was no diversity. And when I went to college, I attended University of Minnesota Duluth, and all of a sudden there was diversity around me. And I felt like I was about 10 steps back. And I vowed as an educator that I would always promote diversity because there's power in the discussion. And New London Spicer, we don't have a diverse student body. And in time, we have increased our diversity, but still, our students here deserve to have the conversations and to learn about diversity. And I think when they enter into the outside walls that we have here, so whether that's work or university, whatever, military, at least they have knowledge, and they have knowledge of how to work with different people, how to function in a global economy. I just think that it's so important that they're exposed to different perspectives, and when you learn that in a school, you're in a safe environment to explore that, to have the discussion, and I believe it's better to have those conversations here because our students are learning that, they're seeing it. They're seeing it on TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram. So I do believe that it's very important for us to be able to have the conversation.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
I'll throw back to my answer to the last question. How boring would life be if everyone was just like me? I think ensuring student exposure to all these different cultures, as everyone has echoed, is incredibly valuable. I remember, again, coming from the London Spicer area where we have very little diversity and had even less when I was growing up. We used to go to down to the Twin Cities fairly regularly, and I distinctly remember when my little brother was very, very young saying things that you probably shouldn't be saying because he hadn't ever seen a black person before. And it was like my mom, shh, talk about it in the car. And making sure that other students and families don't have to encounter that. When I went to the University of Minnesota, the shift in diversity was substantial. And it was a very steep learning curve, making sure that I could understand how to navigate that. And I want to make sure that our students don't have to face those challenges outside that safe learning environment. If you can support that cross-cultural education within the school environment, you give the opportunity to address those things. It shouldn't be weird to say this person is black. That's not a bad thing. But when we come from a culture where it's not normalized, it can lead to a lot of difficulty in having these conversations. It can lead to difficulty in having conversations about racial inequities. It's very awkward if you haven't exposed or been exposed to diversity to talk about what those alternative experiences are, because you don't have a lived experience that mirrors that. You haven't encountered somebody that has had that happen to them, and that you can personalize that and make that connection. I think anything we can do as a school district to support that, whether that's partnering with other schools, finding connections with people outside of the district, and just making sure that anytime somebody walks into this building, no matter what their background is, no matter where they're from, how long they've been in the county, the city, the state, the country, they feel welcome immediately and feel welcome into that New London Spicer family and feel the deep connection to the area and the people of the area that I have felt since I grew up here.
Going on to our next question. What would you say our school district can do to facilitate good mental health for all?
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
Mental health is a topic that's been at the forefront for years, decades. Growing up, we had a rash of suicides at New London Spicer around the time I graduated, including one of my classmates. Nobody saw it coming. I was on a trip for academic challenge actually down in New Orleans when we got the call and found out. And it wasn't something that was talked about widely. We had a couple of mental health and suicide prevention lectures. I had some personal experiences with it with family friends that had gone through some mental health crises. But I think anything we can do, just like with exposure to diversity, exposing students that this is normal. Like, people have problems. You're going to need to work through these, and we need to provide the support to do that. It's not a problem if you need to talk to a professional. A therapist is not a bad word, and those skills and those things that we need to train young people, starting with social emotional training down in the elementary schools, leading up through normalizing and destigmatizing mental health in the schools, making sure that we have the number of counselors, the number of mental health professionals, the number of social workers available to support that need. Because unfortunately, schools have become the repository for a lot of that support for young people. It's one of the things that's led to the current fiscal problems at schools, is that the school districts are asked again and again to provide more and more services to our students. There's not more mental health problems now than there used to be. We're just better able to identify them and help and support those students. And I think the district needs to continue to do that. It needs to continue to focus on interventions and identifying students who can benefit from support and then providing that support. From the school board side, it's about making sure that we prioritize that. One of the cuts we had to make during budget cuts was removing 4/10 of the time of a social worker. And it gutted me. And every meeting, I'm like, okay, we're readdressing this. How do we get the money back to make sure we're putting that position back in place? Because it's absolutely vital for student learning across the board to have that mental health support.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
I believe that it is essential to take care of the well-being, not only of our students, but our staff as well. And looking from a staff perspective is that there's outreach services for our staff and to encourage and to educate them about what those services are. And in terms of our students are faced with, I believe, more issues than ever. Family lives are complicated, society is complicated, and they need someone to be able to talk to and to process and to gain the skills to deal with what's facing them in their lives. And I heavily support the role of the school social worker. I've worked closely with them. Their caseloads are enormous here, and I think that any way that we can support additional mental health services for our students, continuing our partnership with Woodland Centers, I think that is also very essential. But I also think it's partnering with outside agencies as well. It's not just impacting the school mental health, it's outside in our community too. And so how can we partner with the clinics, other services that we can promote community wellness and well-being as well. So again, I think that part of being a board member is to listen and to listen to our mental health staff members here at school and take guidance from them and learn how we can best support the work that they do with our students, and then also any issues that come to us in terms of how our staff are doing as well.
Question goes to Del Brower.
First of all, I think COVID and student closings, and that had a great effect on our students and our teachers. Became very challenging for the teachers to try and reach all the students when they weren't in their classroom. So we have to be cognizant of what they went through. As has been mentioned, we have to hire and support our social workers and counselors because they're in the forefront on mental health. As board members, we need to make it a priority when there's turnover in one of these positions that we hire excellent social workers and counselors. And also, as has been mentioned, we need to work with the community. There are experts in the community that can help the schools address mental issues with their students.
I haven't answered it yet. I would make sure that staff and teachers are expressing concerns with situations where they feel that someone is at risk or going through tough times. Do whatever we can to provide guidance and counseling to students that are going through difficult times. Normalize those types of programs. And promote brain health like we do physical health, and provide quality service to students to adapt and respond to stress and adversity. By addressing the non-physical ailments, we can create positive influences that will help individuals throughout their lives.
Thank you. Next question. What are the strengths of which our school district can be proud?
Question goes to Del Brower.
The strengths that our district has, first of all, if you look at academic achievement, our test scores are in the top 20% in the state. And we have fallen behind somewhat, as most school districts have after COVID. But we need to continue to address the academics. First of all, we can be proud of our Wildcats sports programs. They're very excellent. Our performing arts, we have excellent programs. And I think our staff, our teachers are something that we can be proud of. So we have a lot going for our district. Having passed the referendum, I think that's going to help a lot address some issues that may not be where we want them, but overall, our district has a lot of strengths.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
Some of the strengths that our school district should be proud of, obviously academics, as Dale just spoke about. And we made it through some very difficult times. I think it's something that we can be very proud of over the last few years, what we've overcome, surviving COVID protocols, keeping our students and staff safe. I think overall, we have great staff, we have great teachers, great role models that our kids talk about. And increased participation in extracurricular offerings. I think we have a great offering for all ages, including after high school. I think that's a great asset that we have.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
I think one of the things we can be most proud of is the people. A school is just way more than the collection of buildings that we have, and the high quality staff that we've been able to recruit and retain, because New London Spicer is such a phenomenal place to be, to work, to live, I think really speaks highly in our district. I cannot say enough good things about the people that have been involved in New London Spicer for as long as I've been aware of the district and in it. I think the other thing to be proud of is the students that we have. Not just their test scores, but outside. We've had students that have had the confidence to come forward to both administration and even the school board with concerns directly. Something that I know in a lot of districts is hard for students to do, and we put students in a position to succeed in those ways. Just this week, we had two students come to a school board meeting to present a concern, and it's something the school board is working on. I think the other thing is the connection to the community. This is the activities that we have available for people after high school. It's the crowd on a Friday night at the football field, or at the gym for the volleyball team, or at the fall musical that's coming up later this fall. That place is usually packed, and it's not just students and it's not just their families. And having that connection to the community, I think, is what makes New London Spicer so strong. Our academic success is always high, and that's a function, that's a result of focusing on those other areas, not something that we can focus on to the exclusion of it. The last thing I always brag about is our extracurricular activities and our co-curricular things. Things like building a house, things like how wonderful it is to perform in that new performing arts center and what experiences students get with that. That just about every student in our district has the opportunity to sign up for something that will make them passionate and connect them to our school district and our community. And that they can be proud of those things, and that the district does such a wonderful job of building that pride for those students and making sure that they are connected, because that helps them succeed academically. If they feel connected to the community, if they feel connected to the school, they're going to put more work into the academic side as well and lead to a successful life.
Question goes to Trish Perry.
I'm going to try to answer this in 90 seconds because there's a lot to be proud of at New London Spicer. And when I was working on my doctoral degree, I would go to class on Fridays and Saturdays, and I would always wear a different t-shirt. And that was during the height of sports season. So if it was football, we were off to section, tournament, and then to state. And my professor said to me, geez, what's going on? And it was this sense of wildcat pride. And that is one of the strengths of New London Spicer. There is a sense of wildcat pride when you're here. And when I look at the pride of this district, it's about our students, what they're achieving in the classroom. It's what they're achieving playing basketball, volleyball, the programming, our robotics team, cat eye production. I mean, the list goes on and on for how tight our budget has been. What we're able to do for students is absolutely amazing. And when I would talk with other administrators and we would compare notes, I knew that I could put our district up against any district, whether that was activities, opportunities for students, we have student travel. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I also think that we should be really proud of our staff because our staff work really, really hard to provide all of these opportunities for our students, both inside and outside of the classroom, and finally our community. We wouldn't be here without the support of the community. They volunteer, they show up, they love this school. And so all of those things together are things that we can be proud of and that we should be proud of.
The next question. How will you support and enhance communication between school board members, citizens, school personnel, students, and their families?
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
I think obviously technology. I think these days it's very easy to get a hold of people. There's an array of different channels that you can go through, whether it be direct or indirect. I think being completely visible, being out in the public, and being seen where people can communicate with you one-on-one. I've started a Facebook Facebook page when I decided to run for school board where people can contact me directly. They can use my cell phone, they can email me, they can do all of those things. And so I think it's very important that you have different levels of options because some people don't want to be direct. They want to use an email or they want to be anonymous in some cases where they don't want their name to be known. So I think technology obviously has been one of my big talking points, and I think it would help enhance the communication between all parties.
Next question goes to Trish Perry.
I think always when you talk about supporting and enhancing communication between all of the different parties that you had asked in the question, as a board member, I believe that it's very important to be visible. And our board historically has always participated in many and all of the committees that we have here at school. And that gives you an opportunity to touch base with students, with staff members, with community members so that you're there and that you can listen to what their concerns are. And I also think that it's very important that when you're talking about communication is that people need to feel welcome in that environment and they need to know you and to know that you're going to listen and that they can talk to you. And so, I believe that visibility, whether it's at the PAC performances, football game, attending a ECFE, chili supper, all those things that you're involved in the community because you do represent the school. And I think that when people know that you really are there to promote the school and you're there to help, I think that enhances the communication. And again, I think using technology is very, very important. The way that the district communicates via newsletter, I think those are all really positive things that we do and that we should continue to do.
Question goes to Del Brower.
As has been mentioned, you want to be visible and you want to be welcoming to people. Also, you want to be knowledgeable of what's happening in the district so that the people want to come to you. Social media really helps enhance this. Personally, I think that personal communication, one-on-one, is probably best because you can see the reaction of the person when you're talking to them. So I really like personal communication, and I would use my communication skills to collaborate with the various groups in our district. The people want to know that you not only are knowledgeable, not only that you care, but that you truly understand what their concern is. So caring, knowing what's going on, will really help the communication, and showing that as a board member, you desire to collaborate with various groups of people will really help.
Not me.
I'm sorry.
No, this is what I definitely want to answer because it's something I'm very passionate about. You can ask 2 superintendents in a row now about my push on communication. I think the question asked about 6 different layers of communications, and it's difficult to answer all of them in 90 seconds. But in a single word, prioritize. If communication is a priority, then you're going to communicate better. If you make sure that that's at the top of your list, that when we make a decision, this has to go out. When there's a concern, this is how we're going to react. When there's an issue in the community, here's how we're going to pull people in and hear them. For me, directly to the community, a lot of it runs first through my Facebook page. So facebook.com/markfernls, check it out. It demonstrates to people that I have that knowledge because I'm able to recap those school board meetings every 2 weeks. It gives them an opportunity to engage with those issues that are before the board, and I hope also helps them find the line between what is board work and where they should talk to the superintendent. And quite often that first engagement is, hey, I'm happy to hear you, I'm gonna bring your concerns to the right place. If you wanna go directly, like here are the channels that you can go through. But it's that being visible and being engaged and engaging, whether that's walking through a school building, whether that's walking through the community as a whole. And it's about finding the right medium for each person. Some people want to message my Facebook page through an anonymized Facebook account. Some people want to send me an email. Some people want a text message. Some people want to talk on the phone. And some people want to meet in person. Just this weekend, I spent about an hour and a half meeting with a family in the district that had a concern about something that happened and just needed to feel heard to make sure their issue was being addressed and to find those right channels to move things forward. But I dropped everything on a Sunday afternoon and went over and did that because that's the important thing to do in this role, is to prioritize that communication. I push that from the district as well out when we're making changes to a calendar or the school lunch menu, that failures to communicate that in a timely manner are failures, and that we need to do better and hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Thank you. We have time for one last question. How do you describe this decision-making process you would use as a school board member?
Question goes to Trish Perry.
When the process that I would use as a school board member, the first thing that when you're making decisions as a board member, you have to remember what the purpose of the board is and what your role on the board, what your role as a board member is as well. And anytime you make a decision, it has to be grounded in policy. And that policy is based in federal law and then of course in state law. And then ultimately what your decision making is what's in the best interest of your school community. And when I use the term school community, I mean your students, your staff, your parents, what is in their best decision. And ultimately, your guiding principles are to do what is best for students. And I believe that the decisions on the school board, when asked to make them, that will be my guiding principle is what is in the best interest of students. Again, keeping in mind what policy also dictates.
Question goes to Mark Peterson.
So as I said in my opening statement, the thing that always drives my decision-making process is the singular focus on what is best for our students, both now and in the long term. Everything flows from that. A key component of that is data and input and expert input and guidance and discussion and feedback and reaching out and really rolling these things through and making sure that I understand the nuances, that I'm putting myself in the shoes of the people who are going to be affected by this, that I'm putting myself in the shoes of the people who are going to be elated by the decision I might make, and in the shoes of the people who are going to be upset with that decision, and trying to find that option C that might benefit everybody and keep the peace and make everybody's priorities move forward at least a little bit. One thing I think is important, especially on school boards, is we don't fall into what's called bike shedding. So this is the idea that a company that's building a nuclear reactor and they have a committee that's in charge of the budget is going to get this feedback plan from an architect who's an expert in doing this. And the expert is going to have all sorts of plans there, and the committee is most likely to spend their time arguing about what color to paint the bike shed. Because that's the thing that's within their locus of control, and that's the thing they know, and they don't know how to engage on these other things. And it's something I've really focused on as a school board member, is avoiding that bike shedding moment. Making sure we focus on where those priorities are and that we're not spending our time arguing about a paint color when somebody else can make that decision. Somebody else can present that to us to keep it cohesive within the school environment. And that we're taking the expert advice where we need it. And if we don't know how to address that nuclear reactor, that we're not ignoring it and talking about the bike shed, but that we're reaching out to other experts and getting the feedback that we need to make that decision. And it comes back to, again, that data and that input and really rolling this around to come up with the best solutions that we possibly can to balance the incredibly wide, disparate needs that exist within the school community and make sure that everyone's priorities are advanced as much as we can.
Question goes to Del Brower.
First of all, before you make a decision, you want to make sure that you have all the information. And as has been indicated, we need to follow policy. And as board members, we have to make decisions together in a board meeting, not individually. And we have to look at what is in the best interest of all those affected by our decision. And priority number one is we're all here because of students. How is this going to affect our students? So this is how I would look at the decision-making process.
Question goes to Laura Nelson.
I think first and foremost, you listen. You need to understand where the issue or policy is coming from, what the goal of that is. Try to see the issue from all different sides. Consider all who are affected and what the short and long-term effects are of that decision. And discuss with others, including board members. Obviously, there's not just one board member. We're a team. We're all in it together, and so I think getting as much information out there before making a final decision is extremely important.
All right. Candidates will now have 1 minute for the closing statements, starting with
Mark Peterson.
Thank you once again to everyone for organizing, participating in, and importantly viewing this forum. I hope that the public comes away with a clear sense of the perspective of each of these candidates and what we bring to the school board. For more information on me, if you have any questions, please check out my Facebook page, facebook.com/markfornls, or my website, markfornls.com, or reach out and talk to me. I am more than happy to dive into this. As I've demonstrated tonight, I am an absolute wonk for this stuff, and I will talk your ear off about school finance for hours on end until you're dragging yourself away. I'm committed to public education. I think it's important that the stewards of public education believe in public education, have their kids attend the public schools, support public education every way that they can, and that's been my life. It's the schools I've gone to, it's where my children are. I'm deeply invested in the long-term success of New London Spicer. My youngest is in first grade right now, and my goal is to make sure that NLS is as strong when she graduates in 2034 as it was when I graduated in 2004 and when my father graduated from New London Spicer in 1974, and continuing that tradition of excellence. Thank you.
Up next, Trish Perry.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, and especially to you, the public, for watching and wanting to be informed, and also like to thank the candidates for your participation as well. And you know, I'm a strong believer in public education. My mom was a teacher. I have lots of aunts and uncles that were teachers. My brother currently is a special education teacher. So I believe in this process, and as a board member, it really is my duty. I feel that it's my duty to ensure that all students receive a quality education that prepares them for post-secondary, whether that is military, work, or college. Students are our greatest investment. As a board member, I will continue to support and advocate for the needs of our students, both academically and socially. And again, it would be a great honor to serve you, the community, and our students and our staff as being a member of the board.
Up next, Del Brower.
A vote for Del Brower is a vote for excellence in the classroom, fiscal responsibility, and a vote for the bright future of our NLS students. Thanks to the League of Women Voters and all who made this forum possible. It is very much appreciated. I will use my many years' experience in education and my hard work ethic to help make a large contribution to the NLS board. I will also use my communication skills to work with various groups in the district so we can maintain the we attitude we have in our district at this point and not turn it to a me attitude. A vote for Del Brower is a vote for the well-being of present and future Wildcats.
Up next, Laura Nelson.
I too want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, to the Willmar Regional Access Channels and KWLM for making this forum available to all of our community members, and for those of you that took the time to submit your questions. I'm not running for school board with a specific agenda, but rather because I want to continue the path to success that the school board has been on. I think I would be a great asset to the district and look forward to using my skills to better our schools and community. I am passionate about education and our children's futures. I look forward to the opportunity to serve students, families, teachers, and staff in getting them what they need to continue to succeed.
Thank you. Again, I would like to remind you that the views expressed in this forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters of the Willmar area. Sponsorship of this forum is not an endorsement of any candidate. The Willmar Area League of Women Voters would like to thank you all for participating. The video recording of this forum will be available to viewers on links provided on our Facebook page, Instagram, and the RAC 8 channel in Willmar. You can also go to vote411.org for more voter information. We would especially like to thank the candidates for being part of the democratic process by running for public office and your willingness to serve your community. Remember to cast your ballot on November 8th.